beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burnin Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. I know, super cool guy here.
Oh, man.
Let's scoot your way a little bit. There we go. All right. We're live here from Winnemucca, Nevada. Winners Inn and Casino. Room 211 to be specific, so any of you dudes want to come get naked. I got Cope Wilson here with me. We'll have a rowdy good time. He just got back from Africa not too long ago, so he's itching to get into some shit.
Yeah, I not that kind of shit though. I'd kind of prefer if it was maybe, yeah.
Yeah, with a little different set of equipment.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man. We pulled in last night. Got to see Cope and a few other people play the Outside Circle show. They got the Buckaroo Traditions Gathering going on this weekend. We're going to go watch the finals here in a little bit. But it was a good show. Winnemucca is kind of a cowboy town. It's kind of a mining town. It's a good old rural Nevada town. And but there are a lot of buckaroos out in force last night, so it was a good time. My head is ringing this morning, but in a good way, I think.
Yeah, I got the chance to play the Outside Circle show this first year, and I came about it very surreptitiously because I was on my way to a date, and I got offered to play in lieu of going on the date, and I called her up and I was like, I'm not going. I'm going to play music for my friends, and it was very special too because it was in DuBois, Wyoming. After coming fresh off the trail, I work for an outfit called the Steader Outfitters, and I guide mostly, and then do cowboy stuff in the summertime, and then do Africa in the winters and ski. But it was on National Day of the Cowboy. It was the first time I got to play in DuBois, Wyoming for the Outside Circle. I was like, this is my personal Grand Ole Opry. Like,
that's cool, dude. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, and you put on a good show. I was really digging the original songs you were playing, and then you're a wild man on stage. I enjoy it.
Well, how do I say this, man? It's going to sound really, really corny, and it's not 100% accurate, but every dollar I've ever made in my life was carrying a gun in a war, in the saddle, or with that guitar. And I don't know how many gigs. I've been playing in bars since I was 16. I used to play in this bar on the East Coast where you had to audition for the slot.
Okay.
And you had to write they had to write the requests on a $5 or a $20 bill, and if you couldn't play those songs at the end of the night, you were looked at for possible termination because they wanted guys that were like basically a human jukebox. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I love about this particular event is that I get to mix all of my old favorites with like all these old timey guys with like dust on their hat and stuff, and then you look at the other side of the bar and it's a bunch of like a girls' night out, and they're all having fun. They're all dancing, and they don't really want to dance to like some of the older, more traditional campfire stuff. The guys like you and I be passing guitar around. They want to hear like "Don't Stop Believing" on acoustic guitar, mashed with Toto Africa or whatever. and so I get to play all that stuff. And at the end of the day, man, I don't like. I'm gonna say I'm not a purist. I just like seeing people have a good time and facilitating and enable that. I'm a beer salesman.
There you go.
Because they dance and they drink more beer. So that's the way I look at it.
A good show is a good show, no matter how what the set list is. And that's part of what makes a good show is you read the room, you feel how the crowd's going, and if they're not into your shit, try something else. And
and I kind of felt like some guy. I used to be bolted to like a set list, and I would like practice that set list and how long it would take. And I'd be like, okay, about 9 songs is 40 minutes, and I'm gonna take a 20-minute break. Last night was, and the night before, I closed it off. We only had a handful of artists. We were waiting on another artist to show up, and it was the early night because all the boys want to rope the next day, so they're not gonna have too many late evenings. But I closed her down that one. I think I played like 10:45 to 1, and they had to drag me off stage. I was like, I have more. Yeah, I know, it was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, they those outside circle shows go and go and go and go.
I like how unscripted it is, so it lends to its authenticity, which I think is super, super fucking cool, man. I like what Justin's doing, and this is the third time I get to play with him. One of the things, I guess that segues kind of cool into kind of one of the reasons why I'm here, besides just playing music, is ended up getting together and finding that in the cowboy world, I ended up finding with a bunch of close buddies that went down range, and then now we just hang out. Like, we'll get in the car and drive 10 hours for all the girls and all the guys to get together like one big family. And it kind of got me thinking about, like, man, there's an intentional community opportunity here. And so the reason we're here is this club of guys from the Warfighter Cowboy Union all get together and bring their families and stuff. It's very family and community oriented. And it just so happened that it coincided with a traditional roping event, which we went to the program this year in Ogden, Utah. And it was like that, but I didn't play. Just played campfire stuff after, and we had a really cool sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Impromptu sort of concert, if you will, at the stock trailers in the event center parking lot until like 3 a.m, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what it's all about right here.
See, and that's kind of how I try to model my Elko show is like if you take it out of the bar and just put a bunch of stock trailers around it, it's kind of the same feel.
I think if there was like a Burnin Daylight or an Outside Circle, like actual traveling set, it should look like a stock trailer in the back or something with like a fire in front of that. I think that'd be cool,
Yeah, it's those are some of my favorite times, is just sitting around shooting the shit, listening to, well, and especially like those campfire type deals. You're like, hey, do you know this one? And like, what's that one? You know, like, what key's that in? You know, and just.
And another guy will be like, I know that one. And you give him the guitar, and then off to the races kind of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I really enjoy interacting with like you guys that went down range. It's funny how like you're some, especially guys like you in the operator type community. Like, you guys are some hard hitters, like you door kickers. Like, you've very capable men. And so I knew a guy that was he was a former Delta guy, and we feed a steer out for him and his wife every year, and he's like, teaches long range shooting. You know, he's a bad motherfucker. Cannot back a trailer to save his life. And it's funny seeing, and like Jeremiah's kind of, also hard badass dude, intense dude. Yeah. And then like he posted a roping video, and I was like, hey, put some play in your wrist.
Man, so you hit the nail on the head with something that I want to touch on, which is super friggin' important, man. I did 19 years, 360 days in uniform. 14 of those were the uniform, like, special forces. Yeah. And this is going to sound, it's not arrogant. They train you to a really high level to the point where you don't make basic mistakes. Yeah. Much like being a lifelong fucking range riding cowboy, right? Where guys that have done something for so long forget what it's like to be new at it. Yeah. And as a guy who's done something and been very well at it for so long, for me to take off my, experience hat or that wisdom hat and put on this one where I'm like, I'm a new guy, man. I get to go back to being green again and finding good mentors and learning good skills, but I got to have the humility to make those mistakes in front of my friends. And in my first couple years wearing this hat, I didn't do that. Yeah. I was like, nope, I'm not going to post roping videos because I suck and I don't want people to see that I suck. But I was like, no, if I ever want to hope in hell to get better at this, I have to drop my attitude and my ego. And that's why I made 2024 the year of the horse for me, because I was like a capable enough rider, but I mean, as a packer and a mountain man guide, you don't do a whole lot of smash and grab, like range ride and chasing down cow stuff. Yeah. And I was like, I want to get better at it, but I was too shy or too embarrassed to do it with someone that I respected because I didn't want them to lose respect for me. But this year, I was like, I choked it. We talked about that, man, going down and work for that performance horse guy. Yeah. I choked it down, and I was like, I'm going to go and be bad at this for the sake of being good at it eventually. And much like backing up trailers. It's interesting to watch high-performing dudes that aren't used to being not awesome at everything do something, and you're like, but it's like, at the end of the day, man, we're all human beings. Yeah. And like, we all had to start somewhere, so, and this is, I'm 4 years in now to doing this stuff, and I'm still greener than hell, man. I show up and I look at the old guy in an outfit, I was like, sir, I've got a good horse and a great attitude, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
I feel like that every time I go day work somewhere or, show up at a branding that I've never been to, because I've made my living horseback for the last, I graduated college in 2008. So since then, I've been outside of a couple months here and there, Cowboy has been my profession, and most of it's been in a feedlot, which redheaded stepchild of the cowboy world.
I've learned that about the community. It's like, oh, you're a feedlot guy. Like,
yeah.
It's a job, man. It puts food on my family's table.
I've seen more cows in the course of a year than most of your guys that have punched forever will see in a lifetime.
Sure, yeah. And different ones, a turnover all the friggin' time. It's not the same cows, and you know them and how they're handled, so they're chill.
Right, and so like you were saying, it's not a matter of arrogance. It's just a matter of fact. I've seen a lot of cattle. I'm pretty good at my job. I've kept my job and moved up in my position over the years. So like I'm confident enough to say that I'm pretty good at what I do.
Yeah.
And but you take me out of my my comfort zone where I know, and then say you're dropping me off in this part of the circle, and like my country's 200 head pin, and then when I got to go out and make a circle, it's a different game. I've done it before, but I don't do it very often anymore. So it's when I do it, it's I like a guy, and it's not bragging on myself, but it's what I've learned over the years. I would rather a guy like just sit back and like realize when you're going to be more hindrance than help.
Yeah.
Because everybody likes a gung ho guy, but the gung ho guy that jumps in and doesn't know what the fuck they're doing will. That adds hours to your day sometimes. Yeah, exactly.
Little mistakes can cost you an hour riding in the dark. Yeah.
And so I've got to the point now where like if I don't see a clear spot where I'm helping, I'll try not to be in the way. Like that's a good skill in itself, is not being in the way.
Yeah.
And I think, or just being in the right spot.
Yep.
There's a lot of reading cattle to get to where you're like, all right, that bitch is gonna break. So but instead of hauling ass after she breaks, move your horse about 3 steps before, and it'll bump her back into the herd. And you can always see those ones too. They're always looking out above the backs, and you're like,
Yeah. We had this saying in the special operations community where it was, I'd rather go downrange with 6 mediocre skilled guys with great attitudes than 6 studs with bad attitudes.
Yeah.
And like your ability to work and gel on a team, like I think there's a lot of laterally transferable skills, like from like a lifetime in uniform to doing this, because when you're working on an outfit or a crew and you're doing a big gather, like you gotta be independent and resilient. You gotta be a thinking man, and you gotta like know the overarching kind of game plan, and then be flexible enough to kind of move in it when it's gonna win and if it changes, because I mean you can only plan up to what the cows are gonna do, and then or what the terrain's gonna do, and then we had noticed that this year with this dear buddy of mine named J.W. Phillips, man, on Insta. Him and his missus have started a first-gen ranch in Idaho, and I'm actually going to go stay with him tomorrow night, man. I'm really looking forward to sitting down with him and meeting his family. He started this, he's been day working at this ranch out in Blackfoot, Firth area, Fort Hall Indian Res, and he invited a bunch of us up, so we had like the inaugural Warfighter Cowboy Union gathering. And it was a couple dudes from Missoula, a couple guys from all over, and it was predominantly it was 6 to 8 guys that kind of came and went. I think we had 6 guys at one point, and they're all retired Special Forces dudes that have found purpose and solace and something in the West, and now we make our living and foster that intentional community and build it on in the saddle, and that's kind of where that went. And we had these guys that can think on their feet. Okay, guys, we're standing on some big, trot the fence line in the dark, stop, sun comes up. Okay, we're going to take 6 dudes and go down this draw and give you the whole plan for the day, and then you tip your hat to your buddy and be like, bro, I'll see you at the fence post at, that last light kind of thing if everything goes right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. I always try to find, like, parallels between, so, like, I think there's a lot of parallels between the cowboy world and the military world. Like and particularly, like infantry, special ops, like, the guys that are doing the shooting, it's very much like you're working cowboy. Like there's no quit time. You quit when it's done, and then doesn't matter if the sun's going down. Well, shit pops off. You got you're just in it, and there's a very much that same type of mentality. Just like let's get this shit done.
Yep.
Pitch in where can I help, and But there's also a lot of ego, a lot of gatekeeping.
There's like some of the, like you're right. So one of them is there's an ego and a gatekeeping aspect of it. Everybody seems to kind of look up to the guy that's the best at the job, even if he's not the oldest guy or the boss.
Yeah.
You know, he might not have the handle of top hand, but he's like, that guy knows what's up. And, you know, there's also when you're a new guy in the Army, all the other guys in your crew come up and tell you you're doing shit wrong. It was like, well, I'm doing it the way that guy told me to 5 minutes ago. You're like being a private again. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying, but, and another element of it that's very similar to, besides the ego and whatnot, is I've noticed this. I actually talked at great length with the Wild Courage guys, Jeremy and Doc, and there's a gentleman who runs Oxbow Customs. He was at the Pro-Am, and he sat and visited with me about Jesus and these things, but he told me a story that was so like the cowboy, like especially retirement from the military into a new life. It's a lot like when you say you suffer an injury in a horse wreck, and you can't be a day rider anymore, and everything that you defined yourself by was, I'm a cowboy, and now you can't do that anymore because of your injury or whatever. Maybe something came up with your ranch, or you got to move and sell and head to town. That guy loses a sense of his definition of self, much like a guy when he takes his uniform off when he retires. A lot of guys auger in. They don't know what to do with themselves. They've only known that job their whole life, and that sense of loss of self, you kind of go back to be. I did anyway. I went back to almost being a kid, where I'm like, what do I want to be when I grow up now?
Yeah.
And I get to explore that. I approached it, or I try to approach it with curiosity, like an actual genuine, sincere curiosity. But there was times it destroyed me. I turned to drugs and alcohol, and I just didn't know like what to do.
Yeah.
I felt lost, and I found that sense of self again, or that sense of purpose and community, and I found it in the saddle here in the West.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We were talking a while back, and you were talking about you kind of fell off the wagon pretty hard here a while back, and with drugs. And I'm always there to talk, but like that's one of the issues that I've never really had was I smoke a fair amount of weed, and I drink more than I should. I love tobacco. I've got my vices, but hard drugs for whatever reason. They made us watch, say, that HBO documentary on meth when I was in high school.
Oh yeah,
and that was enough for me. I was like, I'm just not going to try that. I've dabbled in the cocaine a handful of times, and it just never really did it for me. You know, so I don't. And it's not that I don't have that addictive type personality, because I do.
Yeah.
But when it comes to drugs, I'm all ears, but I don't have a whole lot of
that's okay.
advice.
One of the things they look at, especially today, man, I've done a heck ton of study on substance misuse, addiction, and it all boils down to a couple things. One is society today often looks at addiction like a legal problem, and it's not. It's a social one.
Yeah.
The drugs or the alcohol, it's not just a substance that people can misuse so that they don't have to look in the mirror. They don't have to deal with what's going on in their heart. Like some people, it's the gym. Some people like CrossFit. Some people it's shopping. Some people it's all kinds of stuff. And at the end of the day, the reason why we go to these behaviors, these behaviors such as drinking or drugging or something like that, is because there's something inside us that is unrectified. And when we morally and use our value systems and align ourselves with that thing, we don't need that anymore. There's something about numbing out where I don't have to sit with myself. You know, and that's what I was looking for at the time, and it worked. It worked. It did its job. Like I didn't have to be in my own head. You know?
Well, it's funny for me is and it sounds just cliche as all hell, but like having kids, being a dad is the coolest freaking thing either. Especially like I got a little boy, and it's amazing how much they look up to you. And you're just like, there's moments where like he'll be like, you want to go do something? I'm like, nah, I'm tired or whatever. And I'm just like, I can suck it up and go do something with my boy.
Throw the ball with my kid. Yeah.
And you know, me and you are kind of same, you know, physically, you know, we're not real big fellas, but and my boys is gonna be the same way. So it's like, teach them now, like, hey man, if you want to be good at these sports and stuff, you're gonna have to bust your ass, because the physical ability is gonna be pretty limited. I got decent genetics, I suppose, but I don't have those good of genetics. So.
Mine genetics are excellent. Mine, it's called hybrid Braziliancy. It's that crossbreed.
Oh yeah,
it's that crossbreed Native American and then Scottish, like Coeur de Bois, like fur runner blood.
There you go.
Yeah, this year I got Rocky Mountain spotted fever, malaria, and had a heart attack in the same year.
No shit.
And like, yeah. Wow. I'm 39. I don't take medicine, and by medicine I don't take pills for stuff or anything like that. I don't do any of the drugs that the big pharma folk push me for, like PTSD or any of that shit. I don't take any of that shit, man. I have my spiritual practices. You know, I talk to Jesus. I stay active. I try to eat clean. I do my best to stay away from the bottle, and sometimes it sneaks up on me, you know, especially just driving around and living this life in retirement, man, being a saddle tramp and going and visiting with outfits and friends and doing stuff like this. Every time I get together, like literally my whole life is like a party now. And by a party, I mean a celebration of getting together with old buddies.
Yeah.
You see a new old buddy every other weekend, right? That's what it turns into. So, but yeah, I'm pretty blessed with the genetic stuff. And one thing I know, like on selection for the SF, like I was like I was the same build I was now. I was in a little bit better shape, but I had more weight on. And I look around, these guys are all like 6'5" and like shredded 6-pack abs and stuff. I was like, oh man, I'm never going to beat that guy. And 4 days later, they're gone, and I'm still here. I was like, how the hell does this work? But it was one of those things, man. It's just heart. It's just...
I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm Scotch, Irish, German on my dad's side, and then like Spanish Mexican on my mom's side. With I've got the weirdest one was I got 0.7% Ashkenazi Jew, which I was all sorts of stoked about because I can make all the jokes now and I get away with it. So.
Yeah, I didn't. So I grew up. My nanny was a full-blood Indian, and we didn't know that because it was a time in Canada when if you were a native, they were still putting young boys and girls in residential school where they're going to try and educate the Native American out of them. So my nanny, who's an Anishinaabe Métis from the Swisha in the Great Lakes region along the Ottawa River, they lied about her native status, and she just kind of looked like, you know, dark skin, that kind of thing, but just kind of faked it. Like, I'm the whitest Indian guy out there, and I'm a half-breed. So we didn't know about that until she had passed, and my little brother had done all the genealogical stuff and then found the ties, the requisite ties that give our family status, which was kind of cool. And then it was almost like as soon as I knew that, all of a sudden my connection to the land there made a lot more sense. All of a sudden the way that I weep when I see mountains made more sense. Every time, you know what I mean? Like, it's, and I've since kind of not dove in, but I dabble a lot in that particular kind of spirituality. And by dabble, I mean, I don't know, it picked me. I didn't pick it, and it just feels right. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I still talk to God, and I have a personal relationship with Jesus, but I don't, and that's cool. He's cool with that. Yeah. I'd say I'm Christ-like in a sense and not so much Christian.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Like there's elements of the stuff that has happened in the church that I have a hard time hanging my hat on.
I'm not a big fan of the religion. I'm a big fan of Jesus. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like he'd be cool to have a podcast with right now. You know what I'm saying?
I started, like the world's been so fucking crazy here lately. You know, like it's the craziest time period in a while, and we're like, I'm 39 too, so we're like, we all have, our adult life has just been like one worldwide crisis after another, it seems like.
Yeah. Having said that, like I took history and cultural anthropology in university, man, and one of the things that can't be denied is the fact that regardless of all the crazy stuff that's going on, we live in the most peaceful time in human history has ever existed.
It is true.
But so that puts a lot of stuff in perspective for me when I pan out a few frames and I look at kind of what's going on in the world today, and I'm like, I had a hard time. I had to take a break off of social media for a couple years, like 18 months, because I was getting really sucked into that, and not so much for like the swipe ripe, you know, that kind of culture. It was because I was getting way too involved in like what was going on in Russia, Ukraine. And as a former warfighter, I have strangers, like young men, hitting me up like, oh, what kind of shotgun should I buy? I'm gonna go fight with the volunteer brigades in Ukraine. I'm like, I couldn't handle these young men going off to do a job. It was almost like making a mockery of my craft, you know. I was like, stop. You know, it's kind of like watching fake cowboys in like downtown Bozeman. You're like, take that off. You know what I mean? That's silly, petty, crappy stuff, but like, who cares? But the Ukraine-Russia thing, the best thing I ever did for my mental health was honestly be a terrible citizen and stop reading the news. Yeah. And that has helped me immensely. And then stop consuming. I'm very careful what I consume on social media because I can go down a rabbit hole.
It's so easy. But like I was saying, you know, everything being crazy, and I get to, you know, and I do host a podcast. So I'm always trying to find something to talk about because cowboys are not the easiest guys to pin down to interview. You know, it's and I don't even like calling these interviews because I'm not a good interviewer. I'm a good bullshitter, and I like you know, and but. You have to take a step back and realize, like, world's pretty good. But I just started reading Proverbs again. And,
so good.
It's just, even if, it doesn't matter what your view on God is, there's just so much wisdom in Proverbs. Like, it's just all wisdom.
It's like I like them too, man. I don't know actually I do know what happened this year. I had a pretty rough year and a half being single, and I just needed something, man. And usually in the early parts of the season, I work for that outfit in Wyoming, and I had spent a lot of time in that outfit by myself the year before. Not a lot, but a week by myself. Yeah. And it's weird, man. You're 24 miles back in the woods, and you got no friends but the mules for 7 days straight. Like, you start hearing stuff. You start having conversations with yourself. And then I had found when I had gone back this season, I did 5 trips in and out of that camp this year. So that's about 5 weeks or so, 6 weeks or so of traveling in and out. That.
And you've got a whole backstory of why this particular mule is an asshole, and he doesn't listen to anything you say.
I had found that I get up there, and it's up there in elevation. Base camp's at 10,000 feet, man, and it's so quiet. And I call it the cathedral. There's a couple big canyons and the wall tents, and you're looking up at the sun, or you're looking up at the bluebird sky. Gannett Peak is there, and like I just felt closer to God. And I brought up this, actually Jeremiah gave it to me when I was we did a roping clinic this year. And he gave me the Way for Cowboys, and I started flipping back to that. I'd get up in the morning, I'd give a tobacco offering on this kind of rock out back. I'd read some Proverbs or read a book of Matthew, and just kind of sit and visit with the land and with God. And it was just something about that this year became really powerful for me as part of who I am and where I went this year. And I believe that he opened a lot of doors for me. I've got this thing where how do I say this? I don't say no to stuff. You ever watch that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man?
Yeah.
So this was like my year of being Yes Man. They're like, hey, do you want to do this thing? And even in my mind, I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm tired. But yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. And I go and I meet people, and it just always works out great. Like, when I say yes to stuff, when I volunteer for things, it opens doors.
Yeah, I'm kind of that same way too. My wife is always like, well, I got Corb Lund's number because I just went up and talked to him.
Yep.
And she's like, well, I would never do that. I was like, well, you never get to talk to the guy. You don't go talk to him. You get a chance, go say something. And so I had him on the podcast. Had a great talk with him. He's a cool motherfucker. And but I'd kind of take that Forrest Gump approach. Just I don't know.
Bro, you stole my thing. Yeah. I'm the Forrest Gump of the music in the Western world. I've got some cool Corb stories, man. Corb, we would come to Parts, Ontario, and we tried to make him the honorary colonel of the regiment. Because it was a bunch of guys. One of the dudes I soldiered with, his mom is friends with Corb's mom because they're both artists.
Oh, nice.
And we had seen him in a show years ago called the Festival of Small Halls in Pembroke, Ontario, and we brought a bunch of the boys from Workout because we're all just, the redneck guys like that shit. And we try and press gang Corb. Well, first and foremost, we drank the place dry of a particular type of beer. And he goes up on stage and he's like, somebody in here drank all the beer. And and we're in the back like, woo. And after the show, we give him a unit belt buckle, hang out with that. And we try to get him to come to the bar with the saloon with us. And he's like, oh, I don't know, man. I gotta go to Ottawa. I got my girl there. And we're like, come on. So we're waiting in the parking lot, and the girl that I was with at the time jumped on my buddy's motorbike, which is in the back. It's like 11 o'clock at night, and he's got this old rebuild, and she's cracking the throttle on it. It's an open primary, like the one that'll suck the pant leg off you if you're not careful, kind of thing. And we're drinking in the parking lot, and the cops roll up, and we're like, oh shit, like open liquor, hiding it and stuff like that. And just as Corb comes out, and he decides to come to the saloon with us, where I was playing in a house band at that very saloon. I wasn't, not that night, but, I'm in the house band there, so I was like, there's no way we're going to get kicked out. I got kicked out. I drank way too much. And, the bouncer saw me. I was in the bathroom getting sick, and someone hands a paper towel over my shoulder, and I took it. I was like, thanks, man, and it's the bouncer. I was like, oh, man, I'm in trouble now. And he's like, hey, you can stay, but you can't drink anymore. And about 5 minutes later, I've got a shot glass in my hand. I'm looking through the crowd at the saloon. The bartender, or the bouncer locks eyes with me. I was like, drank it anyway. Off I went. I remember getting sick in the car on the way home that night. But that was the last time I went drinking with Corb Lund.
That's funny. I went to, I think, 3 different ragweed shows before I ever actually saw him play. I always got kicked out for underage drinking before they even took stage. And then I watched him play, and honestly, I'm not that big of a ragweed fan live. I think Cody Canada's a kind of an insufferable douche. He's a great musician, great songwriter, but he's kind of a douche. And I don't know, something about the first show I did actually. Oh, he got pissed because somebody wanted to play Carney Man, and he got all pissed. I hate that fucking song. Well, maybe you do, but you wrote it, and
I get a kick out of that, man. So there are songs as a musician that I hate playing.
Yeah.
I hate playing Freebird. I hate playing Wagon Wheel.
Yeah.
I hate playing, you know what I mean? I hate playing Brown Eyed Girl. But I had a moment some years ago where I just was one of those musicians who just refused to do stuff. It was like, no, man, this is my show. You're going to listen to it. But it's not about me, man.
Yeah.
It's about this couple in the corner that I'm watching eat dinner while I'm playing, whatever. And then they're having a drink after. They're staying for the music.
Yeah.
And then she comes up and asks me to play Wagon Wheel.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, I hate that song. My kind of rebuttal to that is, tell me who wrote it and I'll play it.
Yeah.
And they're like, Darius Rucker. I was like, no, but I sucked it down and I was like, I'm going to play it. Like this couple, they maybe go on a date night once every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And this is their night to go to a date night. And if she wants me to play a song and he's going to ask her to dance to it, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And so I play Wagon Wheel. And they get up and they dance. And I was like, I'm never going to turn down stuff again. Now, having said that, I did make someone write Freebird on a $100 bill before I played it 2 nights ago here at the casino. But, and then I gave it back to them. I just wanted to see if their money was where their mouth was.
That's funny.
But yeah, man, that's I did that to Corb too, man. I wanted to play a song called Student Visas. It's about being a special forces guy, fighting in like the Sandinistan guerrillas in like Guatemala in the 80s, but like you got hurt in a training accident, and I asked him to play it, and I just think he wasn't chopped up on it, and that's why he didn't do it. But the song meant a lot to us at my community.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I get you.
Corb's got some great songs like that. He's such a unique songwriter. Like he's a history nerd too, and that it shows in a lot of those songs. Yeah,
I've always been a huge fan of his because he can do a thing. So he can write vicariously. Mm-hmm. Same with Stapleton.
Yeah,
like I look at guys like Waylon and Willie, and these guys can write songs about being messed up on a tour bus because they were messed up on a tour bus. I could never write a song about being a sailor in World War II in like Midway because I don't know anything about that. Yeah. I could, as an exercise in songwriting, I took a mine explosion in Nova Scotia, Canada in like the 90s, read the wiki article, and then tried to write a song about it just as an exercise in trying to get better at vicarious songwriting. And it kind of turned out okay. My grandpa had done a lot of mine work stuff like, before he went and fought in wars and stuff too. So I sent it to him. He was like my authority that I curated. Yeah. I kind of like, if Gramps says it's good to go because it's kind of minor-ish, Yeah. But I don't know anything about being a miner. Corb's songs like Horse Soldier. Yeah. Like that one kicks me right in the butt. I rewrote one of the verses for it on last 6 March, which is the anniversary of one of my good buddies named Drew who was killed in Iraq. Yeah, I think you sent me that video. Yeah. Yeah. And I rewrote one of the verses, Today I Ride with Special Forces, and like that one. Just like little stuff about, it's more Iraq-based, or, Peshmerga militia-based. And I just wanted him, I wanted Corb to hear it just because he's been such an inspiration to me, man. And I've got some buddies in the musical community up in Canada named, another one's Dallas Alexander. He was a friend I soldiered with. Yeah. He was a sniper, had the longest range kill in human history. I've heard him on a podcast before. He's and he kind of plays more kind of a mainstream country type sound. Yeah, cool guy sound like. That's like, so much like Army guys, and then much like Cowboys again, there are some music guys out there that are kind of purists. Yeah. Right? And Dallas, he's a songwriter, good songwriter. Yeah. But it's been in my, conversations I've had with him, like he wants to be a performer, singer, songwriter. Mm-hmm. And the way to do that, to put food on your table, he's doing the line that he's like, this is the most effective way that I can do this. Yeah. And I was like, that's cool. That's not the kind of stuff that he was playing or we were playing around the campfire when we were in free fall school. Yeah. Or that's not the kind of stuff that we'd, chat about. But it's just like me, man. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm a purist. I like to be an entertainer. The songs I write come from things like addiction and heartbreak and all the other shit that Cowboys and Soldiers know all about. And I'm pretty proud. I banged out a couple of my OGs last night, and I don't normally do that. But it was kind of the place for it. It was people paying attention to the music that was being played. And so it was kind of neat. The mainstream scene, like, what's that song? It's called Standards. Like, I don't have hits, I have standards. Yeah. Like, I'm kind of more one of those guys. Yeah. And it's not standards as in, like, I'm a purist and I'm better than you, and I'm not going to, if a record man with his big triple chin has $1 million check in his hand with my name on it, he's like, all you got to do is cut your hair, lose 30 pounds, and be the next Rascal Flatts. Yeah. I want to say right now, I would be like, fuck you, music man. Right. But I'd really be like, man, I really need some money. Exactly. So I don't know what I would do. I want to say, and for all intents and purposes, because nobody knows what they want to do. Yeah. Nobody knows what they would do in that situation. But I want to say that I'd be like, man, I'm okay being a nobody cowboy. Yeah. Outside circle, Burnin Daylight, campfire guitar picker, because those are my people. Yeah. Yeah. Like you played our show, was it 2 years ago in Elko? Yep. And you'll be there this year. And it's
I like there's like my buddy Forrest always drops in and plays a song or two, and he's also a very unique songwriter, like really just quirky, weird, awesome dude. I like a Forrest Van Tile's a cool motherfucker.
Yeah.
But there's no real big names. I guess every now and then I might, maybe I get lucky and talk Corb into dropping in, but like I'm not banking on that.
I get you.
I got you. I got my buddy Eric Shields that played three years in a row, I think.
I like him. He called me like last year, man. I was in the grocery store in Bozeman, and I bet you the milk went bad. I sat there on the phone talking for probably an hour with the milk in the cart kind of thing. Man, gosh, he's a nice guy.
He's such a cool guy, and he just got married, has got a kid on the way, and
nice.
Yeah, so he's not going to make it this year, but it's like I got to be amigos with that guy just through the podcast deal, and now he's seen Elko, played Elko a couple times, and got to see some new country, and I'm a little proud that I got to play a small hand in that,
Well, that's the thing, man. That's what you're doing, and that's what I like, and that's what Justin did for me too, man. Is like these gigs aren't big paying gigs,
Yeah.
Like for someone to get in their car and drive from like Western Oregon, like Matt.
Yeah.
Like to get down here and do that stuff, like like I've already started having to save up. Like I can't buy nice shit and bits at the trade show because I've got to like save up to get back home.
I haven't even looked. There's stuff that I could buy and that I maybe not necessarily need, but I could. Yeah. There's some stuff I could use, and I just.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna wait.
I'm already saving up for stuff I want to buy in Elko this winter, and like I just got business cards and like do I really need this kind of thing? But it's like at sometimes considerable expense to people to move and come to these events and play music. But like you guys and Justin as well, man, he takes care of your room and your food and all that stuff. So it takes a huge pile off the plate. Like like it's just really nice. That it's able, he's making it easier, He's taking it's like, I can't make it because of blank, or you're like, hey man, I can't make it because of blank. So I'll take that excuse off the table for you. Now what?
Yeah.
How you like me now? And I love that about it. I'm gonna see if Noah will come back this year.
Noah's awesome.
Yeah.
That dude was a machine on that harmonica.
On the harp, yeah. We did a gig this year together, and we played a few, and at Willie's, just kind of small acoustic gig kind of thing, and I remember like. The day that I asked him to come, he's like, hey, man, the poetry gathering? He's like, yeah, I know that. He's like, West Texas accent?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know that. And I was like, do you want to come and play it this year? And he's like, well, I don't know, man. You've got to practice a lot. And I mean, like, well, when is it? And I was like, we're leaving tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. And he was like, God damn. Like, just like, but he did it. He got in the car, and he was like, he's walking out, and he's got his gun. And he's like, amnesty moment, bro. I love you. If there's drugs in the car, we're okay. If there's a gun in the car, we're okay. But if there's both, we're both going to jail. I was like, dude, I don't have any drugs in the car. What the fuck? Who do you think I am? Like, but I used to be a cop, so and a Marine. But we came down and played, and much like Rue, who played this show, like the first gig that Noah ever played was in Elko, Nevada for the Poetry Gathering.
That's awesome.
Like Rue, the first gig he ever played in front of people was for the Outside Circle at the Buckaroo Traditions. That was the first time he's ever played in front of people.
Yeah.
That was
awesome.
Just
he did
opening
great
doors.
Too.
Yes, opening doors for all these guys, man. And I put my hand on this, like, bro, I've been trying to get in an Outside Circle for 3 fucking years. Yeah. Just like I'm just giving him shit. But yeah, man, just such a cool opportunity. Much like you said, the Forrest Gump, and then you're in these rooms and you get meeting with other people, and it's awesome.
Well, I got to become friends with like the Cowboy, Forrest Gump and Boots O'Neill. I mean, like I always say, he's not retarded, but he's basically the Cowboy Forrest Gump. He's been in Texas, but he's also he spent 9 months on the DMZ in Korea, and then
you told me about that. Yeah,
he pulled a knife on something. He was hitchhiking from Seattle to L.A. and got picked up by some rough guys they stole gas, and it was still like a full service gas station, and when they went in to ring him up, they just took off, and Boots being he's just a good man, he's like, I'm not about this, so he said he waited till they got to Stockton, and then he pulled out his knife and he said, I'm a member of the United States Army, and they've taught me how to kill a man 7 different ways with this knife, so if you don't want to die, let me out. They dropped him off, and he just kept hitchhiking. He said, I found a ride with a family from Oklahoma that was a lot nicer. So.
Yeah.
And he's got so many So many stories. He was telling me about meeting HW the other day.
Wow.
And, because he's been at the 4-6s for 40 years or something now. And
wow.
Yeah, he turned 92. I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he's still just he has a little harder time saddling his horse nowadays, but he's got to go take his horse over next to a hay bale to get on, but he's still punches cows every day.
That's cool, man.
That's what he does.
I've got a buddy of mine, we call him Bullet. His name's Wayne, and he was a Marine Purple Heart guy, and he's a paraplegic, and he works at an outfit out of Florida. He's a black guy, and he actually just got, what did he get, man? He was in the hospital. He called me from the hospital bed, and we were like FaceTime. Great guy. He's a ardent supporter of the Warfighter Cowboy Union too, man, and I want to kind of make it chapter-based, so you get together with some other vets down there and network, get a ranch or get a branding together, get the families together and shit, and keep that fostering that community that we all used to have in the military. But yeah, black guy, paraplegic, and he's not a cow boss, but he's a hand. He's got a machine that lifts him onto like a horse, and a paraplegic man goes around and works cows.
That's awesome.
He went out to a rodeo. He called me just before and after. He got a little bit Pendleton up, and someone said he couldn't do something, so he joins the jackpot, like throw in your $100 and you can team rope at the end of it, and he won $1,000. Like this paraplegic black vet guy wins $1,000. He can't walk. He lifts him into his horse, lifts him into the saddle, and then he goes and wins $1,000 at a team roping event at a little community rodeo. I was like, that's freaking awesome, man. Like, I love that shit.
It's wild seeing. I've got a couple black cowboy friends, and I always give them a hard time. It's like, if it wasn't
such a dick.
I know. It's like, if it wasn't so expensive to be a cowboy, you motherfuckers would take over the rodeo sport.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same way with hockey too. I hear hockey's pretty expensive to get
buddy,
into.
Especially, I was never allowed to play hockey as a kid growing up in Canada because, one, it's super expensive. League dues are super expensive. Your mom and dad are spending every weekend in a rink. You got practices at 5 a.m. ice time before school and stuff. And as a boy, you're growing out of all that equipment. That's several $1,000s of plastic and rubber and shit on your body. And as a young growing man, you're growing out of that crap every season.
Oh yeah.
So you're dropping $2,000 a year on new equipment or whatever, and the leagues weren't great. And by leagues weren't great, you'd be surprised how many high school kids that are reffing middle school, secondary school hockey get their shit beat out of them by hockey dads in the parking lot for a crappy call.
Oh, I bet.
Fist fights in the rink, entryway, it's not. Don't get me wrong, the sport's beautiful, but what's happened to it, how as competitive as it's gotten, it's not cool. You're beating up high school kid refs because they made a bad call. You're a grown man, dude.
So we were at my daughter's soccer game the other day, and one of the moms was way too into the game, and then she started she was talking shit on the other coach, who was a Mexican guy, and his whole his whole team was a bunch of Mexican kids, so of course they're really good. Those dudes can play soccer, and she was making all sorts of comments. Speak English is fucking American. My wife just goes, "Where is her man?"
Oh boy.
Not here apparently.
I could make all kinds of jokes about that, but I'm not gonna. I'm stoked to go and catch the rest of the roping stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to get my good friend Sarah in here to talk about War Party stuff, man. She's
awesome.
gonna be pretty stoked about that. So
yeah, let's do it.
If you could let me jet out of here, man, I want to catch some more roping.
You bet. All right. Well, always a fun time, man. Love
always
you too.
Fun. Thanks for coming.
Yes, sir. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Now move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Well, life is just a gather, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. way.